Good evening, everybody. It's Thursday night, and I thought I'd give an update. Um, it's a good news update. I know I've had some serious updates. I mean, this is serious, but I've been kind of reflecting. It's been a very up and down week, and I'm sitting here in my den, aka my fortress of solitude, surrounded by what I love most outside of, well, my family too, obviously. I have pictures of my family surrounding me, but also what I love, cosplay and fitness. I have my ever growing Superman collection that Allison indulges me to have here in my ever increasingly crowded fortress. But so we're coming into a very momentous time for my family in that my daughter Sydney will graduate from high school. And that means to any parent or family member, it's a wonderful moment. It's a momentous moment. It's a milestone in our lives. And Sydney has worked exceedingly hard all through her education journey so far. And she's had some challenges, and she's overcome them really beautifully, I have to say. I give her great credit. And Rising Tide Public Charter High School and the middle school where she first started, I think for Sydney has been a great experience. Any school system has its pluses, its minuses. Certainly for Sydney, Rising Tide fit the bill for what she needed. She had regrets that there weren't as many extracurricular activities as the full public school system, but I think for her academically, it really helped her grow and come out of herself. So her graduation is really special just from that perspective. She's worked very hard. She's achieved very good grades. Not brilliant, some areas more so than others, but she's worked really hard, and she's helped and she's grown into self-advocating for herself. And Allison and I could not be more proud of her just for that in and itself. But as many of you know, my son Wilson has autism. Didn't achieve what we'd hoped for in high school. His high school experience was very limited. So this, his graduation was bittersweet for us because he didn't achieve what he potentially could have. And I don't know. He has severe cognitive impairments, and standardized testing, which is what you require in our state, he didn't pass all those standardized tests, as many special needs young people struggle with standardized testing. Wilson has, in some respects, he's brilliant. He's a human GPS. He knows directions, and he's verbal. And I'm not saying this to brag. It's nothing to do with me. But so he's achieved a lot, but it's been at a great struggle. And at least from a high school graduation perspective, I admit, he didn't achieve. And it's hard for me to even say. But the point is, he. I'll just leave it at that. I think people out there can guess what I'm hesitating to say. But Sydney is graduating. She passed all her MCAS testing, and she's going on to college. And she really worked all her college applications, reaching out to teachers for letters of recommendation, pushing her parents to fill out the FAFSA and all of that. She really did amazingly well. advocating for herself and getting those things done. So we come into this weekend, and on Saturday she will graduate with, I think, 66 or 67 of her fellow classmates, and congratulations to all of them and their families for helping them achieve those goals. So, but this is a very special moment for us. It's a bittersweet moment. It's celebrating Sydney's achievements, and there's a bit of regret when we look back at Wilson, but that is what it is. So some of you might have seen my post where we have this giant sign in the front yard now, and I know that's over the top for many, but I guess for me, I wanted to make it special. I wanted to celebrate in our own way. I wanted Sydney to know how much we're so proud of her, and really applaud her efforts just to make it. It's not hard. It's not easy having an autistic member of the family, least of all for now 18-year-old young woman, but who's grown up protecting her brother, but at the same time, like a typical sister, he drives her crazy. She drives him crazy. And just living in that world, and unless you live in it, it's hard to imagine it. And I'm not going to try to explain it, but it's hard. It's helped her grow in a way, certainly. But at the same time, it's been difficult. So coming into this weekend, we're just very much just trying to celebrate her achievements and everything she's accomplished. Happy to say that my mother will be able to attend. Thankfully, we're all vaccinated and she's in good enough health. I'm going to go up to get her in Swampscott on Saturday morning early and bring her down. And we're going to go to the graduation. And then we'll have a nice luncheon at the Mirbeau restaurant down in beautiful Pine Hills, which is a favorite spot of ours. And it'll be nice to celebrate. I won't be seeing the extended family and friends right now because of COVID. We've decided we're going to wait until August 15th, I believe is our date. We're going to have a family and friends celebration here at our house. We're trying to get our backyard in order so that it's ready, and hopefully we'll try to catch it so that some of my nieces who will be going back to school along with Sydney, we can hopefully have them come down before they head off to school, and hoping to see as many members of my extended family and some friends that we haven't seen in a long time, even before COVID restrictions. But so that'll be later in the summer. So we're going to have a celebration of Sydney's high school graduation and a new beginnings, because she will start as a student at Bridgewater State University, be a BSU Bear, which is great. She made that decision. Her college choices were all her own, and so I'm proud of her for that. So that's where we're at. So I just wanted to kind of explain where we're going into, and maybe how momentous and special event it is, even more so for us, I guess. And Wilson's very much happy to be part of Sydney's celebration, and he's doing well. He really is. He'll be in his last year of Project Growth. He'll finish in December. He's made some really great strides. He's managing a lot of the stresses and anxieties that 3 or 4 years ago were a nightmare for him and for us. We went through a very hard time, all of us, when he was particularly his junior and senior years in high school, very emotional. He was very emotional, very angry, and I will say he was violent at times. Fortunately, we found, I think, the right medications for him after a lot of trial and error, I should say, and effort. And I think, I think for Wilson, puberty hit him later than, he was acting maybe when he was in 17, 18, 19, like a 14, 15, 16-year-old, a typical teenager, young man would. So I think that also affected him. But I mean, we've had certainly a lot of stresses in the last few years that he's managed beautifully, all things considered equal, with my elderly parents, um, with a variety of things, and he's managed it quite well. Um, and he's going to be going into a new transition in his life when he leaves Project Growth. He'll be 22, and we'll actually start looking at what his future is going to look like as an adult with autism and his challenges. You know, the irony of the situation is autism doesn't, I mean, I'll be honest, autism doesn't stop when you turn 22 and the associated behaviors. It's lifelong. So there's a lot of emphasis in early intervention and getting young people, as you know, the treatments and the services they need, and that's all very valid. I don't question that. We needed that, and anyone with an infant or a young child, it's very important. But it doesn't end when the child grows up and turns 22, and then one has to try to find, you know, the services that, in our case, but Wilson will need, at the same time hoping he's going to achieve as independent a life as he can. And we want to be there to support him in that. So that's a big challenge, or I should say, it's a challenge, but a transition that'll be happening in December, and we're going to start meeting with his current team this month. And so there's a lot happening there. And so sometimes, you know, one has to, and I struggle with it, I'll be honest. I struggle with looking at the typical 21, 22-year-old that I see as I travel about Plymouth, and I, you know, read on internet and even in the gym I belong to, and I sometimes look around longingly at the 21-year-olds and 22, and I will say, I wish my son could do this. I wish, but you know, I guess that's human, but it's also kind of wasted energy. And I struggle with it, as you know. But I have to look at what he's achieved. I mean, the other day he's been volunteering at the Old Colony Y in Plymouth. He's been just doing that for the last few weeks, and overall it's been very good for him. He's actually done very well. He had a bumpy ride I think 2 weeks ago, but he still got through it. And this week he did great. He did great by all accounts. He was independent. He was working on all the tasks he was assigned. He came back looking for more work when he finished. Erin at the Y said he did a great job. A+, A++ or something. So that's great. So, you know, and that's something to celebrate. And that's why we post these things. And it's not that we're bragging. It's might seem that way, but it's not. You know, people, and it's normal. It's human nature to be proud of your children's achievements or your family's achievements. But for us, it's like trying to celebrate even the smallest victories. So, with that said, I'm looking forward to a celebratory weekend. I'm very much looking forward to seeing my mom. Haven't seen my mother in as long as COVID's been going on. And unfortunately, we don't live very close. It's about 2.5 hours away, and especially during the height of COVID, to go up and sit on a porch 10 feet away at that distance was not really logistically feasible. So looking forward to seeing her, and I know Sydney is so excited that Grandma will be present. Unfortunately, my in-laws aren't really able to attend. My mother-in-law is pretty much homebound now, and even my dad-in-law, he just, you know, it would be too much for him. So at least, you know, I know my brothers and sisters will have us in their thoughts this weekend, and there's a lot going on with a particular member of the family, and so, you know, our thoughts and prayers are with that side of the family right now too. But we're going to celebrate Sydney's day, I look forward to having a great day. So, from me to you, with my ever-present Superman all around me, thank you for listening. And have a great night. And stay safe. And be kind to one another. I struggle with that too, but this world has become so divisive and so angry, and I think if we tried to be kind and we try to look past a lot, hopefully people would see what brings us together more than what separates us. But that's what Superman represents. That's why I love Superman so much. Not just the physical powers and the strength, but the vulnerability, the compassion, you know. Anyway, good night all.